especially across northern parts of Scotland and Orkney and Shetland. Otherwise, further south, you may see some glimmers of sunshine first thing. Across Northern Ireland, it's a case of sunny spells and scattered showers through the morning. England and Wales generally much brighter than Saturday, but there is some patchy outbreaks of rain across the far southeast to start Sunday morning. That rain will clear its way through, turning drier and brighter across the southeastern parts of England, but elsewhere it is a day of sunny spells and frequent blustery showers. Some of the showers are going to be heavy, perhaps thundery, with some hail, especially across northern areas. Otherwise, for all of us, it is a fresher feel out there with a slight change in the wind direction, but in the sunshine, feeling pleasant, 22 degrees in the south and east. So generally not as mild to start Monday morning, but plenty of sunny spells to start. Then we'll see further showers across much of the country, driest across the east before further spells of rain come in to the west. And that's a similar picture on Tuesday and Wednesday, dry, mixed with sunny spells, but generally temperatures highs of 21.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Someone is going to win the biggest prize package to date, and that someone could be you, driving away in this Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It has plenty of room for your family of 4, comes complete with kitchen, bathroom and all the space you'll need for life on the road. Plus, we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 9 p.m. I'm Ben Leo. Tonight,
the perception amongst American conservatives is that this is increasingly a conquered country and that there is not a firm opposition to try to bring Britain back to greatness.
fresh off the back of his interview with GB News, American Conservative star Charlie Kirk gives his damning assessment of tyrannical Britain.
The UK culturally felt like America, before Donald Trump went down the golden escalator.
So, does free speech actually exist in the UK? Well, big breaking news this hour. The Trump administration is so concerned with free speech in Britain that they sent White House officials here to compile an official report. Also tonight.
It's just filtering down to the fishing community now, and those that I've briefly managed to speak to would be incandescent.
Dear oh dear, the French Navy seized 2 British fishing vessels in the Channel just days after the Prime Minister's Brexit surrender deal. Why aren't they doing the same with migrant dinghies? And?
No English.
No English.
Oh, okay. Don't speak English?
Yeah.
Okay. You speak English? No. No. Okay. Thank you.
I paid a visit to the streets with the fewest number of English speakers all across Britain. Can you guess what city it's in? Also tonight. A damning assessment of this Labour government from former friend of the Channel, Andrew Neil. In his 55 years of politics, he accuses Keir Starmer and co of taking lying and gaslighting to a, quote, deplorable new level. On my panel tonight is the journalist and communications advisor Linda Jubilee, former Met Police detective Peter Blexley and the former Labour special advisor Paul Richards. And what in the name of Mother Nature is happening here? Good evening to you. Big show coming up, including the first of tomorrow's newspaper front pages and that breaking news from the last few minutes that Donald Trump's White House has sent US officials to Britain because the US government is so concerned over the erosion of free speech in this country. A team of 5 from the US State Department spent days in the UK on an official visit. More on that in just a second, but first, let's get your news headlines with Bethany Elsey.
Thank you. These are the latest GB News headlines at 9:02. A man has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a mother and 3 of her children died in a house fire in northwest London. Police were called to assist around 70 firefighters who were tackling the blaze on Tillet Close in Brent in the early hours of this morning. 2 homes were gutted by the flames. A 43-year-old woman, a 15-year-old girl and 2 boys aged 8 and 4 died at the scene. 2 others were taken to hospital. A 41-year-old man was arrested and remains in custody. At least 14 people have been injured in Kyiv in one of the biggest combined aerial assaults on the city since the war with Russia began. Ukraine's Air Force says Russia launched 250 drones and 14 ballistic missiles against Kyiv, causing fires in residential buildings. The barrage came hours after Ukraine and Russia each exchanged more than 300 prisoners of war. It was the second prisoner swap under a deal agreed after talks in Turkey. Israeli military says it's reviewing claims one of its airstrikes killed 9 children from the same family in southern Gaza. Nasser Hospital says the children's parents both work there as medics. Israel authorities claim its aircraft struck what it called suspects who were operating from a structure in the city. Israel has stepped up its military operation in Gaza this month, saying it aims to eliminate Hamas's military and bring back remaining hostages who were taken in October 2023. French authorities have been condemned for detaining 2 British fishing boats in the English Channel. In the latest enforcement operation, a French patrol vessel intercepted and seized a UK trawler off the Baie de Somme for fishing without the required licence. But the incident happened on Thursday, just hours after a record number of migrants, 825, crossed illegally into UK waters. In an interview with GB News, the Shadow Home Secretary accused Sir Keir Starmer of selling out British fishermen and surrendering UK fishing rights to the EU. Sunderland will play in the Premier League next season after beating Sheffield United 2-1 in the Championship playoff final at Wembley.
Super sub Tommy Watson scored the winner in the 95th minute to seal a dramatic 2-1 comeback. Sunderland haven't been in the top flight of football since the 2017 season. Arsenal have won the Women's Champions League, beating defending title holders Barcelona 1-0 in Lisbon. It's the second time the Gunners have lifted this trophy. They last did it 18 years ago. As part of their quadruple winning season in 2007, they remained the only English side to have done it. Around 5,000 Arsenal fans made the trip to support their club. And in Scotland, Aberdeen have won their Scottish Cup final after beating football giants Celtic in a penalty shootout at Hampden Park. It's their first Scottish Cup triumph for 35 years. Those are the latest GB News headlines. I'll have more for you at 10 o'clock.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good evening to you. Thank you for your company. Hope you've had a good day. Some breaking news this hour to kick off tonight's show. President Donald Trump sent US officials to the UK on a fact-finding mission after becoming so concerned with the erosion of free speech in Britain. A team from the US State Department spent days in the country and interviewed pro-life campaigners to feed back to the White House. The five-person team met with 5 activists who had been arrested in the UK for silently protesting outside abortion clinics across Britain. The visit in March is the latest sign of the Trump administration's willingness to intervene in domestic British affairs. Of course, it was only yesterday that the president voiced concern on social media about Britain's march towards net zero. Well, I'm afraid to admit the ugly truth tonight that there is no such thing as free speech in the UK. Politicians can talk all they want about protecting freedom of expression, but the truth is they're lying. Whether they're lying through ignorance or something more sinister, they're lying nonetheless, because free speech does not exist if there are consequences to it. That kind of environment stifles creative thought out of fear of being cancelled or, worse, as we've seen in this country, imprisoned. And the visit of American Conservative star Charlie Kirk to England this week reminded me of this. I spoke to him about Lucy Connolly, who we all know now as the mother and childminder who was banged up by the state for a solitary tweet during the Southport massacre that saw her given a 2.5-year sentence. As a reminder, this is what Charlie Kirk said about Lucy's situation.
Try to get the US State Department involved. I don't know if you know what their bandwidth is here, but I'm sorry, again, I'm speaking as a citizen, not as a U.S. government. I just want to be very clear. Is this a way that a liberal democracy and an ally of the United States acts? Just to be clear, what she said would not be any prison time in America. I don't like what she said, but she showed contrition.
Well, Charlie returned home to the US a few days ago, and he talked about his GB News interview with me on his show. His analysis was sobering.
The UK culturally felt like America before Donald Trump went down the golden escalator. They're in the abyss, but culturally, there is this kind of silent, are we allowed to say this? Are we allowed to challenge this? Are we allowed to talk about this? Are we allowed to question this?
Well, it's not just Lucy Connolly, is it? Dozens of British people every day are being arrested by Stasi police forces for thought crimes in Britain. One of the most prominent recent examples was that of retired Special Constable Julian Fawkes, who was handcuffed at his home by Kent Police after he replied to pro-Palestinian activists on X. He was interrogated and given a caution, but not before officers ransacked his home and commented on his, quote, Brexity books.
In cuffs. The rest of the officers all piled in past me. And for the next hour and a half, I sat with one of the officers while his colleagues, the other 5, basically went through every room, every drawer, wardrobe, cupboard in my house. They were in the loft, they were in the garage, they were in the garden shed.
Well, then we have the 18-year-old footballer, Cerys Vaughan, who was banned from the game for asking a trans opponent, and Cerys is a young lady, by the way, for asking a trans opponent, a biological man who was cheating by opting to play against women, if he was indeed a man. And what about Matthew Toomer, the gay railway station volunteer thrown out of West Midlands Railway's Adopt a Station scheme when he privately contacted bosses about a Progress Pride train? Or the Waitrose wine specialist Ben Woods, who was sacked by the supermarket in March because of his posts on X under an anonymous account. He was doxxed. He'd been working for Waitrose for 25 years before they threw him under the bus. The truth is, there have been countless times on this channel and on this show where I've had to hold back from saying something I want to say or alter my delivery because of the consequences of what I really want to say about the direction of travel in this country. It would, quite frankly, get me in hot water. That is not free speech. And it's not the fault of GB News, by the way, either. They are operating in an environment where far-left campaign groups have been doing everything in their power to shut the channel down. And they want to shut the channel down because, like in George Orwell's 1984, whoever's funding these communist groups want you to reject the evidence of your eyes and your ears. They want the everyday man, you and me, the everyday woman of this country, feeling like a pariah for disagreeing with the most basic and fundamental of issues affecting this country, such as immigration. They don't like it when people like me, by most measures a normal thinking person, call out mentally ill cults or child abusers or government-sponsored psyops. They did it during COVID, making people feel like they were the odd one out for being concerned about vaccines or standing 6 feet from each other without scientific evidence. Now they do it with every other topic you can think of. So I say tonight, Charlie Kirk is right. Britain gave free speech to the world, but now we live in a tyrannical police state run by tin pot dictators. I don't know exactly when or how that happened, but let's start being honest with ourselves about where we are. Well, let's get the thoughts of my panel now. The journalist and communications advisor Linda Jubilee, the former Met Police detective Peter Blexley, and the former Labour Special Advisor Paul Richards. Good evening, you lovely lot.
Good evening.
Ladies first, Linda, we'll start with you. Thoughts on Charlie Kirk's comments about the UK? They are gravely concerned about free speech in Britain.
I think that things have gone a little bit too far in this country. The fact of the matter is that any well-trained journalist does know that free speech does have to exist in a certain environment where you can't be defamatory and you can't incite racial hatred or violence. We know that because we're trained to recognise it. But what's happened here in this country is we've chucked the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
What's happened now is that everyone is starting to react to fairly, not innocent phrases exactly, but we're starting to become really obsessive about things that don't actually matter and people should be allowed to speak about. Lucy Connolly's she's a case in point. If you think that the actual Prime Minister now is leading the charge, along with Shabnam Mahmood, to actually shorten jail sentences or have no jail sentences for some criminals, and yet Lucy Connolly is in prison for 31 months and loses her appeal, you've got to start asking yourself, what is going on here?
And also, can I just add, Paul Richards, Keir Starmer asked about Lucy Connolly. He says, oh, sorry, I'm not across the case. Come on, pull the other leg. By the way, I don't want to just talk about Lucy Connolly. This is free speech in Britain. Free speech, in my book, does not exist in Britain.
Well, technically, you're right, of course, because we can't just say whatever we like. We can't walk into a crowded theatre and shout fire, right? And I can't say so-and-so's a paedophile or so-and-so's a terrorist without, you know, there being some evidence for that. We can't just say whatever we like anywhere we like. We have boundaries and rules. And you know, I would say to the Americans coming over here lecturing us on how to run the place, you know, they display total ignorance of our system so often. If you vox pop American citizens, they don't know where England is. They think our Prime Minister is King Charles. They think Africa's a country.
Saying
you know,
stupid.
Yeah, a lot of them are very poorly educated about the world.
It's a country of 300+ million people, Paul.
So why are they coming here telling us what to do? And you said they're intervening. They're not intervening, Ben. They're interfering, and they need to butt out.
OK, Peter Blexley.
Let's talk about some of the rules that Paul's just brought up, OK? Namely, the Malicious Communications Act of 1988, under which British police are currently arresting about 30 people a day for posts on social media and such like. Now, that piece of legislation came into being to largely deal with poison pen letters. Yeah. Now, there's an old expression, which three of us are certainly familiar with.
No, I'm familiar as well.
Yeah, of course you are.
Somebody, just as a quick one, somebody wrote a poison pen letter to my mother and said, world's best kept garden. The garden was a bit scruffy, but yeah, that's just a small example. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah. And that's what that legislation was largely enacted to tackle with. But our police are using this now to scoop up dozens of people on a daily basis for things that they may have written online. Of course, it is not a free-for-all, whether it be online, in the streets or in the pub.
Or in television. In television as well.
Yes, we do not have a free-for-all, but this legislation is clearly no longer fit for purpose. And what is really happening is that the police are pandering to people who get offended by stuff which really should be allowed under free speech in this country. I posted a joke a few days ago, a very funny joke, and it offended numerous snowflakes who then campaigned roundly to try and get me cancelled, the length and breadth of any media organisation I've ever been on, OK? This is tyrannical mob rule by a minority of snowflakes who are so delicate that they get offended by people who tell jokes or tell it how it is.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk was saying that the UK needs to get its mojo back. And, of course, we've just heard this breaking news tonight. Donald Trump has sent 5 State Department officials to the UK to do a briefing on the erosion of free speech. And, Paul, I know you're saying they shouldn't interfere, but they are coming from, I'll say this, they're coming from a place of concern as our dearest friends, as our allies. As Charlie Kirk says, Britain has a lot to be proud of. We gave free speech to the world, and now we're heading down a very dark path indeed.
It came up when Starmer was in the White House, didn't it, if you remember? J.D. Vance said something about free speech, and Starmer stood up to him and said, no, we are the home of free speech, and we should be proud of that. So when these sceptics come in over here telling us what to do, I think they should be told to...
Yeah, but Starmer would say that, and actually, everybody's concerns, including Charlie Kirk, are actually very well founded in terms of free speech being eroded.
No one minds that level of concern, but I think it goes back to a point Paul made. There's concern and there's interference. And I think people are really, really annoyed about Americans interfering.
OK, great stuff. Thank you, panel. Good start. There's just 2 weeks left to get your entry into our biggest Great British giveaway today. Your chance to win a brand new motorhome worth £67,000. Maybe you could go to America with it. Here's all the details you need to win.
Someone is going to win the biggest prize package to date, and that someone could be you, driving away in this Elnag Baron 560 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. It has plenty of room for your family of 4, comes complete with kitchen, bathroom and all the space you'll need for life on the road. And the best news? You can drive it on your existing driving licence. Plus, we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Don't delay. You can't win if you're not in the draw. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, up next, we've got a fiery debate coming your way. It's war. The French seize a second British fishing vessel, while thousands of illegal migrants continue, of course, to cross the channel in dinghies. Have the French got all their priorities wrong? This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News. Now, what on earth are the French playing at? The authorities there have decided to detain a second British fishing vessel for the heinous crime of operating without a licence. The Lady T, which is named after Margaret Thatcher and based in Eastbourne in East Sussex, is currently being held in Boulogne and now risks being confiscated by the French state. Look, I can just about cope with the French being a load of jobs worths. However, when they're busy detaining our fishing boats whilst doing barely anything about the tens of thousands of illegal migrants crossing the Channel, Brits, dare I say, will start losing their patience. So I can announce tonight I'm going to France tomorrow to try and find the Lady T for myself and indeed her skipper, and I'll be sharing what I find on tomorrow night's show. But for now, let's get into this head-to-head. I'm joined, first of all, by the Home and Security editor of GB News, Mark White. Mark, good evening. Thank you for your company at this hour. What's the latest, please, we know about these two vessels who are seized by the French?
Yeah, well, I noticed at the start you showed a caption of the Telegraph headline there, but this was our exclusive story, just to put that out there.
Yeah.
But this is the second boat to have been seized by the French in the space of a week, and there are very angry fishermen out there. You're looking at that boat now, the Lady T, under detention in a French port in Boulogne-sur-Mer. And the reason that fishermen are so angry is because they say there's double standards at play here. The French are just allowing migrant boats to come across the English Channel illegally day after day. And in fact, just hours before this boat was boarded and detained, 825 migrants had been escorted across the English Channel by those very same French patrol vessels, taking them safely to UK waters. That was a record day. So these fishermen that I've been speaking to are incandescent. One who operates out of Dover told me earlier, this is outrageous. It's so typical of the French. They should be totally focused on trying to prevent the daily illegal incursions by migrants into the Channel. But the only actual enforcement work those patrol boats are doing is targeting British fishermen. Now, it's the second boat, as I say, to be seized by the French in the space of a week. The other vessel, the Francesca, was seized off Brittany. It has now been taken to the French port of Brest, and it's still being detained there, with the skipper likely to face significant fines as well. So 2 boats seized in the space of a week, and not surprisingly, the Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp has been responding to our exclusive. He says, this year alone, the French have failed to stop 13,000 illegal migrants crossing the Channel, taking no action whatsoever at sea and often ushering the illegal immigrants into UK waters. Yet, when a UK fishing vessel is in French waters, all of a sudden they're magically able to act. If the French can now intercept boats, then they should start stopping the boats with illegal immigrants, as international law obliges them to do that, from the Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp there. And look, you know, you speak to fishermen, they say if these boats were operating without a licence, then clearly that was illegal. But they do say the licensing system is often very confused, difficult to know what waters, at what time you can actually be fishing in. And they say it's a one-way street, especially given, they say, the deal that was hatched by Sir Keir Starmer and the EU announced earlier in the week, which fishermen again say just sells them down the river, really, for another 12 years of having to accept these EU boats fishing in UK waters.
Yeah, Mark, great scoop. Fantastic work, as ever, on the channel. Just to clarify, the Lady T, we saw a picture of it. It's not some super trawler making massive economic dents into the French GDP. It's a humble fishing, small vessel. You know, it's a light fisher based in Eastbourne, in East Sussex. That's right, isn't it? It's not some massive super trawler mopping up all their catch, is it?
It's a small 30-foot-long catamaran, and you're right, it was fishing for whelks. It's never going to dredge up, you know, very significant quantities of fish. If it was fishing, though, without a licence, clearly it should have been. But I just take you back to the point. The fishermen believe we're seeing double standards here. A robust French Navy willing to intervene to take fishing boats from Britain out of the picture, but allow these illegal migrants through en masse to UK waters.
Indeed. Mark White, thank you very much. Appreciate your company and your work. Thank you, Mark. I'm joined now by the Labour activist and writer Aisha Ali Khan and the research director at the Centre for Migration Control, Robert Bates. Good evening to you both. Thank you for holding on there. Aisha, I'll start with you. What's your take on these 2 British vessels being detained by the French, and just to clarify, by a French Navy vessel, the same vessel that should be stopping the migrant dinghies crossing to the UK?
Hi, Ben. So, yeah, it's a really interesting question. I mean, the French Navy is there to protect its borders, it's to protect its coastline, and that's exactly what they're doing. And obviously, we've got the situation, obviously, you're going to be there tomorrow, so safe journey tomorrow, Ben. But what we have been told, what the British press has been told, is that the captain, the skipper, was whelking, fishing without a licence, and that was obviously completely contravening the laws of French waters, which is why he's been detained and his boat has been confiscated. So, obviously, if you're going to go fishing and you don't have the right licenses, of course you're going to get into trouble. Of course you're going to get arrested, and of course you're going to have your boat confiscated. So I obviously, I hope it's nothing too serious. Obviously, I've read figures of €75,000 fines, and it is pretty daunting actually, because we really don't know what's going to happen. But coming back to the question, Ben, laws are there to be followed, and I just feel that we're arguing about this idea that why isn't France doing more to protect, to protect our borders and to stop people on boats coming over. I don't know if people are aware, but after the Brexit, after 2016, France, we had a border, actually the British border was actually in Calais in France, and the French authorities were the ones that were basically cataloguing the migrants, issuing paperwork, ensuring that they didn't actually enter our border. But after Brexit, that ended. So now the border, instead of being in France, in Calais, the British border, has now become obviously back to where it was before 2003. So I think we have to look at the bigger picture here. If we wanted France to help us with the boats, to help us with all these people coming over, risking their lives, many obviously drowning as well. We should have considered this aspect before we Brexited.
Aisha, we give them £500 million a year. They said they'd help us. And at the EU Surrender Summit on Monday with Keir Starmer, the French even said, as part of that deal, where Keir Starmer said, do you know what, French friends, here's all our fishing rights. The French in return said, oh, we'll promise to help you a bit more with the migrant situation as well. So they're getting money from taxpayers to stop the boats. They don't, and they even admitted it on Monday. Robert, what's your take on this farce?
Yeah, so I think it's petty, vindictive. I think it's kind of been done mean-spiritedly. It's not in that kind of concept of good faith that was obviously meant to govern the post-Brexit agreements. And it, of course, comes at a time as we have just, as you said, handed away complete control over our fishing waters to the European Union at the same time. Look, I think we need to realise when it comes to the illegal migration crisis, though, the French aren't going to help us on this. They've shown time and time again that £500 million that we're sending them is, frankly, a waste of money. And we need to realise that we can take matters into our own hand on this, and that includes freezing the asylum applications for those that come across on small boats, freezing the asylum applications for those that are overstaying visas and then claiming asylum, detaining and deporting those that come on the small boats, sending a very clear message that if you're breaking into our country, you are not going to stay here. And that takes the pressure off. Then that makes it very clear to those individuals that are in those kind of warehouses that Patrick reported on a couple of weeks ago that, you know, there's no point making that effort, and therefore we cut off the demand, we cut off the kind of essential, the kind of sense of entitlement that these people have to come to this country, and instead they remain France's problem. At the moment, France has got no incentive to actually stop these people coming across because we are far too witless with our asylum system. We give these people asylum grants at far too high a rate. They then get put up whilst they're having their application processed in hotels, given free board and breakfast and food, and then, you know, pocket money as well. So why would the French not be allowing this process to happen? So I think we need to recognise that this has to be solved unilaterally.
Yeah, I'm sorry to say, you know, the French people are lovely. I love certain French cities, but the French government is no friend of this country. We gave them £500 million a year to stop the small boats. What are they doing? They are literally, and this was in the papers a few months ago, sinking sambucas at working men's clubs when they're meant to be patrolling the beaches of Dunkirk and Calais. You know, I don't think we can rely on the French at all. Anyway, Aisha, Ali Khan and Robert Bates, thank you for your company tonight. Let me know what you think on this. GBNews.com/you'll say, do we need to be putting more pressure on the French, maybe even economically? Do we need to start buying English sparkling wine instead of their wine? Do we need to stop buying French cheese? Do we need to stop going on holiday in France? Anyway, coming up next on Ben Leo Tonight.
The UK culturally felt like America before Donald Trump went down the golden escalator.
Stateside journalist Nelson Aspen has flown all the way to our London studios from New York, Manhattan, to give his take on Charlie Kirk. That breaking news that Donald Trump sent 5 State Department officials to the UK on a free speech fact-finding mission because he's so concerned with the direction of travel in this country, and much, much more. He's live in the studio. Don't move a muscle.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst western parts of the Mediterranean are having some largely fine weather, it's a different story in the east. Here we have the risk of some heavy showers, which could bring some thunder, even some high rainfall totals, causing problems across parts of Greece, Bulgaria and into Turkey as well. Like I said, though, further west, it's a drier picture, some showery bursts around, but also a decent amount of sunshine on offer. And in the sunshine, it's going to feel pretty warm, if not hot as well.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, it's been a bit of a drab day out there and it's going to turn increasingly wet and windy across northern areas before sunshine and showers and feeling a little bit fresher through Sunday. So taking a look at the bigger picture, we've got this area of low pressure moving in, a squeeze in the isobars indicating some strong and gusty winds. So it's an unsettled picture out there tonight with heavy spells of rain, most persistent and heaviest across Scotland, with strong gusty winds and perhaps some coastal gales In between, there will be some clearer spells, but otherwise, generally, temperatures still holding up 10 to 12 degrees. So quite a mild start to start Sunday morning, but an unsettled start, especially across Scotland. Here we'll see the longest spells of rain, especially across northern parts of Scotland and Orkney and Shetland. Otherwise, further south, we may see some glimmers of sunshine first thing. Across Northern Ireland, it's a case of sunny spells and scattered showers through the morning. England and Wales generally much brighter than Saturday, but there is some patchy outbreaks of rain across the far southeast to start Sunday morning. That rain will clear its way through, turning drier and brighter across the southeastern parts of England, but elsewhere it is a day of sunny spells and frequent blustery showers. Some of the showers are going to be heavy, perhaps thundery, with some hail, especially across northern areas. Otherwise, for all of us, it is a fresher feel out there with a slight change in the wind direction, but in the sunshine, feeling pleasant, 22 degrees in the south and east. So generally not as mild to start Monday morning, but plenty of sunny spells to start. Then we'll see further showers across much of the country, driest across the east, before further spells of rain come in to the west. And that's a similar picture on Tuesday and Wednesday, dry, mixed with sunny spells, but generally temperatures highs of 21.
Nigel is back.
Good evening.
Unfiltered.
Are these proposals bold enough?
Uncompromising.
Will it bring growth?
Unmissable.
We as a country are brilliant.
Nigel Farage returns, coming soon, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News. Much more to come, including the Great British Strike that was held today all across Britain. We've got some fantastic footage of that to show you. But time now for a roundup of the biggest stories from the United States. And as we've already been talking about, US-based political firebrand Charlie Kirk crossed back across the pond after his whistle-stop tour of Britain this week, which included a landmark interview with this channel. But he doesn't seem that impressed by the direction our country is taking. He's told his audience that he believes the UK has fallen. Take a look.
UK is very important to talk about, not just because what's happening in the UK, but also the ramifications here is the UK culturally felt like America before Donald Trump went down the golden escalator. They're in the abyss, but culturally, there is this kind of silent, are we allowed to say this? Are we allowed to challenge this? Are we allowed to talk about this? Are we allowed to question this?
Well, joining me live in the studio for his London debut, normally he's down the line from Manhattan, is the journalist and author Nelson Aspin. Nelson, welcome to London.
Thank you. It's a triumphant return to London.
Good to see your return to London. You're here, of course, promoting your new book about it's your Titanic romance novel. We'll talk about that in just a second. You've got a big book signing tomorrow. First of all, though, we had your US comrade Charlie Kirk here this week. You saw what he had to say about the state of Britain right now. What's your impression of Britain? You've been here a few days. What do you guys think of the UK from stateside?
Well, and I try to spend as much time as possible here. This is the first time since COVID, but he makes some excellent points. The whole idea of free speech, it's fine, but when political correctness came into the equation, which was a well-intended offer to be kinder, to be more sensitive to things. But political correctness over the years has taken on a life of its own where you have to consider anything you dare say. Meanwhile, I checked my social media this morning and I was the recipient of hate speech, which is very unusual. It struck me as odd, but I was able to report it.
So someone DM'd you a message?
Someone DM'd me a death threat, wishing the exact words were, "Die soon, you..." sexually offensive expletive. Die, you rotten parasite.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, look at my social media. You know, it's a friendly, it's a happy place. But that is the kind of thing where I felt threatened by that. So I blocked him, I reported him. But expressing your opinion about world events in the State of the Union is certainly formidable. It's a good thing.
What do you make of Donald Trump, your president, sending 5 State Department officials over to the US to report?
I think it shows his level of commitment to the United Kingdom and his affection for your country. We've talked about this a lot of time. He is a great Anglophile. He loves your country. He wants to be partners with England, for sure.
So, some people say, though, Nelson, you're American, just keep your interference to yourself. Donald Trump, just stay in the US, deal with your own country. What do you say?
Well, then if they do that, then they're accused of being xenophobes. So, you know, whatever, you can't win. But yes, I don't want to meddle in your politics any more than I want you meddling in mine. But it doesn't mean we can't have similar views and similar goals.
Well, let me tell you, I think you saying you don't want us meddling in your politics and vice versa. In actual fact, I think things are getting to a point in the UK now where we are looking to the likes of President Trump, to American Conservatives, to White House staff, to help us out, because, you know, put pressure on the government. And I know it sounds hypocritical, because when Obama came here and said you're going to be back of the queue if you Brexit for a trade deal, and we were complaining about it, I think things have changed now. We're in a different era. Briefly, what do you make of Donald Trump's tariffs on the EU, 50% if they don't sort things out by June the 1st?
I think they will sort things out, because this is his method. Nothing is set in stone with our president. There is always a negotiation to be had. So I would be surprised if it actually comes through as he's threatening it to come through.
Can I ask you, I was of course, we went for lunch, but I was in New York for election night, and the swing in New York across the 5 boroughs to Donald Trump and the Republicans was massive. I think it was a record in decades. What's your perception of how voters feel in New York about Donald Trump? Are people happy with President Trump?
In general, in my world, in Manhattan, no. However, we have to also look outside of the city, outside of the metropolitan area, and into the suburbs where people have children getting on the school bus, and there are terrible problems with crime and illegal immigration, which has dramatically been cut down since Trump has come into office. But you will see this. We're facing a mayoral election in New York City. We're going to be facing a gubernatorial election coming up for the state. And we are seeing, if not drifts to the right, certainly to the middle, Ben.
Yeah, good. Well, it makes a change from the far, far left, as you'd see, probably in lots of parts of Manhattan.
Middle of the road. When did middle become bad?
If you don't mind me saying so myself. Right, so, Nelson, you're here on a whistle-stop tour because you've got a brand new book out. You're doing a signing tomorrow where?
I am at Brasserie Zadel in beautiful Piccadilly tomorrow from 1 to 4 in the afternoon, signing and talking about Kindred Spirits, A Titanic Tale. And then it's off to Belfast, the birthplace of Titanic.
Oh, great. So, look, here's the book here. I've got the first copy hot off the press. Tell us what it's about. What is your sort of obsession with the Titanic?
Well, everybody, I was telling someone backstage there, the 3 most recognizable words in the English language: God, followed by Coca-Cola, followed by Titanic. Everybody has some connection to Titanic. Mine is with the first-class passenger named Milton, who passed away on that fateful night at the age of 29. So I've imagined what his life would be like had he not passed away. And I've created a bit of history with a bit of mystery.
Wow.
And we track down his unrequited love.
Excellent. Well, thank you for my copy. I'll get stuck into it.
It's very naughty. Don't leave it near the children.
It's naughty. It's what, X-rated?
Jackie Collins told me once, she said, anything you write, you have to put a dose of sex in. Because even if people pretend to be offended, they still want to read it.
No, that's fine. I'll take some of that. I'm no prude. Just talking of the Titanic, did you see a few days ago, you know, the submarine that went down to observe the Titanic? Was it the Titan?
The Titan.
They released, we've got a clip actually, they released a few days ago the moment the wife of the OceanGate CEO, OceanGate was the company who made the sub, she heard the bang, which was the sub imploding underwater. Let's take a look at this clip.
Footage they recently discovered from Titan's support ship has been submitted as evidence for their investigation.
You will hear a noise that is external to the ship, or external to the room, I should say, and you will see their reaction to the noise.
Stockton Rush's wife Wendy is waiting for messages from the sub as it nears the sea floor.
What was that, right? So at that point you said, what was that bang?
Chilling, eh, Nelson?
Heartbreaking. I mean, 100 years later, and the Titanic is still luring people to their deaths. And this is the problem with Titanic tourism. We don't need it now. Dr. Robert Ballard, the oceanographer who discovered the wreck in 1985, he said we have enough artificial intelligence now to recreate everything we need. We don't need to put people's lives at risk. People shouldn't be spending millions of dollars to go down there, which is essentially the grave site of 1,500 people.
Yeah, indeed. Nelson, thank you very much. Just remind our viewers what your book's called and where you are tomorrow.
Kindred Spirits, a Titanic tale, and I'll be at Brasserie Zedel tomorrow afternoon.
Thank you, my friend.
Bloody
I really
Mary's
appreciate
on me.
seeing you in the studio. Thank you. Makes a change from down the line. Great stuff. And you can buy your very own copy of Kindred Spirits, a Titanic tale on Amazon.com in paperback or on Kindle. Right, coming up next on Ben Leo Tonight. No English?
No English.
Okay. Don't speak English? Yeah. Okay. You speak English? No. No. Okay. Thank you. You're going to enjoy this. I'll show you how I got on when I visited the street with the least English spoken in the entirety of the UK. Back in just a tick.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk then? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News. Time now for Leo Unleashed, where I drag my backside out of the studio and travel around the UK to see what life is like in your communities. This week, I visited the street whose residents speak the least amount of English in the whole of the UK. Can you guess which city it might be in? Take a watch. This week in Unleashed, I've come to the city of Leicester, and particularly this very special street. It's called Mornington Street because it's home to the fewest number of English speakers in the entire UK. 43%, nearly half of the residents here, speak little to no English. We're just doing a little piece on Mornington Street. Did you see that it's home to the fewest number of English speakers?
Speak English.
Oh, you don't speak English?
Portuguese.
Are you Portuguese?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Excuse me. Hello, sorry to bother you. No English?
No English.
Oh, okay. There's a little cat in the window there. I wonder if he speaks English. Hello, puss. Hello, buddy. Oh, he's meowing. I guess the big question now is, off the back of Sir Keir Starmer's Island of Strangers speech, you know, does he potentially have a point? Hello, sir. Sorry to bother you. How are you? Ben from GB News. We're just doing a little piece on your street. I don't know if you heard that it's home to the fewest number of English speakers in the UK. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know? Do you speak English?
No, I am Gujarati man.
Okay.
Hindi and Gujarati.
Oh, Indian?
Indian.
Indian, okay. When did you come to the UK?
10 years.
And you haven't learnt English in that time?
No, I learned
Difficult?
Difficult.
Yeah, okay, all right. What do you do for work? Do you mind me asking? Work?
Yeah, work.
Yeah. What do you do?
Conference is several company.
What, sorry?
Conference.
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 And you don't need English for that? English not difficult, not speaking?
No, I sometimes English no.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Sorry to bother you. Cheers. So at the top of Mornington Street, I'm going to give you a bit of colour on the main road here. There's a Palestine flag over there with some graffiti on. And if we spin round here, there's some big advertising billboards, not your normal mobile phone ads or supermarket ads. We've got Rebuild Syria. I think this is a sort of charity scheme to send money for prisoners and homes and emergency kits in Syria. And then if you look here to the right, it's again another charity campaign, this time for, I think it's orphans in Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Syria, Yemen, so on and so on. Hello, sir. Ben from GB News. How are you? Have you got 2 seconds? Did you live on the street?
Yeah.
Did you?
I can't speak English.
Sorry? Don't speak English?
Yeah.
Okay. You speak English? No. No. Okay. Thank you.
I do know that Leicester is quite a multicultural place, but I do know that in my specific area, there's not a lot of people that do speak English.
Is that a problem, do you think?
I think, yeah. I mean, you know, the whole point of being part of Great Britain is that we integrate into society, and I think that's very important, especially in my culture as well. But yeah, I can see it being a wider and a much more bigger problem as time progresses. And you know, my mum came to this country about 30, 40 years ago, and she can speak quite fluently. She's very proud to be part of this country and this nation that gave her opportunities. So I think that as an excuse is not particularly great. I do think it's detrimental. I think, you know, whilst we are a very multicultural society, I think it's important that we respect the law of the land, and I think learning English as a minimum is very important for us to be able to integrate.
So we are unfortunately going to have to cut short our visit to Mornington Street because one of the locals has been getting a little bit aggy. He's been texting on his phone and giving us some jip. So before any trouble kicks off, we're going to scarp up. Hello, sir. Sorry to bother you. Ben from GB News. Have you got two seconds? You speak English?
No.
No? OK, thank you. There we go, Mornington Street in Leicester, the streets with the fewest number of English speakers in the entirety of the UK. Peter Blakeslee, your quick thoughts, please.
Do you remember some politicians went down on one knee and held posters saying refugees welcome? You should have taken them to Mornington Street with you and said, how's the integration going? How is it with all these people flooding into the UK from all corners of the earth? How is it going?
Linda?
The thing is that learning English is absolutely fundamental. I did run a 6-month EU-funded programme teaching contextualised English because I believe in that so much. You can have no integration without people learning to speak our language properly.
Paul Richards, that guy had been here 10 years and hadn't learnt English. He said it was too difficult.
People should learn English, but I mean, the British royal family spoke German for 300 years, didn't they? We've always had immigrants and they spoke in different languages. Well, because immigrants speak a different language when they arrive, and then they should learn English.
He's been here a decade.
Generations. Well, he should have learned English.
Oh, that guy's been here a decade.
He should have learned English.
He's a nice guy, but he didn't speak English. He's been here a decade.
But that's why they should be speaking English. But the point is, when people arrive here, whether it's Huguenots or Danes or anybody else, they speak a different language, don't they?
All right, there we go. Hope you enjoyed that. The full episode will be on YouTube. Don't forget, you can stay with us all day on GB News, not just on TV, but on radio and on your smart speaker too. To listen to us on your smart speaker, just say, play GB News on TuneIn. Right, coming up, Nigel Farage is set to outflank Sir Keir Starmer on benefits and appeal to the left, apparently. I'll have more of that in just a moment. And, of course, the big news that Donald Trump sent 5 State Department officials to the UK for a fact-finding mission on free speech because he was so concerned with the direction of travel. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News. Now, let's get your weather.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, it's been a bit of a drab day out there and it's going to turn increasingly wet and windy across northern areas before sunshine and showers and feeling a little bit fresher through Sunday. So taking a look at the bigger picture, we've got this area of low pressure moving in, a squeeze in the isobars indicating some strong and gusty winds. So it's an unsettled picture out there tonight with heavy spells of rain, most persistent and heaviest across Scotland, with strong gusty winds and perhaps some coastal gales. In between, there will be some clearer spells, but otherwise, generally, temperatures still holding up 10 to 12 degrees. So quite a mild start to start Sunday morning, but an unsettled start, especially across Scotland. Here we'll see the longest spells of rain, especially across northern parts of Scotland and Orkney and Shetland. Otherwise, further south, we may see some glimmers of sunshine first thing. Across Northern Ireland, it's a case of sunny spells and scattered showers through the morning. England and Wales generally much brighter than Saturday, but there is some patchy outbreaks of rain across the far southeast to start Sunday morning. That rain will clear its way through, turning drier and brighter across the southeastern parts of England, but elsewhere it is a day of sunny spells and frequent blustery showers. Some of the showers are going to be heavy, perhaps thundery, with some hail, especially across northern areas. Otherwise, for all of us, it is a fresher feel out there with a slight change in the wind direction, but in the sunshine, feeling pleasant, 22 degrees in the south and east. So generally not as mild to start Monday morning, but plenty of sunny spells to start. Then we'll see further showers across much of the country, driest across the east before further spells of rain come in to the west. And that's a similar picture on Tuesday and Wednesday, dry, mixed with sunny spells, but generally temperatures highs of 21.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
You could be driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with skyroof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that wherever this motorhome takes you, it takes you there in style. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
I'm Ben Leo, it's 10 p.m. and breaking tonight. I can't believe I'm saying these words, but Nigel Farage, there he is, this side. He's launching an appeal to the left. The Sunday Telegraph tomorrow reveals the Reform leader is set to outflank Sir Keir Starmer on the two-child benefit cap and reinstate the winter fuel payment in full. It comes as the Observer reports the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, is set to scrap the child benefit cap after a huge revolt in the Labour Party. The newspaper also says the Treasury has been told to find the £3.5 billion the policy would have cost. And in the Sunday Mirror, the headline reads, "It's the Russians." They're running an extraordinary front page, to be frank, revealing that there is now a probe into possible Kremlin links into the Starmer arson attacks. We'll be giving you all the latest very shortly. And The Sun on Sunday has a bombshell interview with shamed Strictly star Wyn Evans. He says he's the victim of cancel culture and hints he's been made a scapegoat by the BBC. The Go Compare opera singer says he's not a sex pest and his spit roast joke wasn't the crude joke that was reported. There we go. Right. Also on the Sunday Telegraph front page, the Met Police have hit back at two-tier policing claims as they completely dismiss complaints about pro-Palestinian protests glorifying the October the 7th massacre as, quote, almost petty tit for tat. Unbelievable. All the details of that very shortly. On my panel tonight is journalist and communications advisor Linda Jubilee, the former Met Police detective Peter Blexley, and the former Labour special advisor Paul Richards. Yeah, I think the spit roast got me rattled. Anyway, what in the name of Mother Nature is happening here? Goodness me, it's all kicking off in Hackney. It's the most important front pages of the week. It's the Sunday newspapers, and we have them here first on Ben Leo tonight. I'll be bringing you all the bombshell news breaking this evening over the hour. First, though, it's your news headlines with Bethany Elsey.
Ben, thank you. Here's your top stories from the GB newsroom at 2 minutes past 10. A man has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a mother and her 3 children died in a house fire in northwest London. Police were called to assist around 70 firefighters who were tackling the blaze on Tillet Close in Brent in the early hours of this morning. 2 homes were gutted by the flames. A 43-year-old woman, a 15-year-old girl and 2 boys aged 8 and 4 died at the scene. 2 others were taken to hospital. A 41-year-old man was arrested at the scene and remains in custody. At least 15 people have been injured in Kyiv in one of the biggest combined aerial assaults on the city since the war with Russia began. Ukraine's Air Force says Russia launched 250 drones and 14 ballistic missiles against Kyiv, causing fires in residential buildings. The barrage came hours after Ukraine and Russia each exchanged more than 300 prisoners of war. It was the second swap under a deal agreed after talks in Turkey. Israeli military says it's reviewing claims one of its airstrikes killed 9 children from the same family in southern Gaza. Nasser Hospital says the children's parents both work there as medics. Israel authorities claim its aircraft struck what it called suspects who were operating from a structure in the city. Israel has stepped up its military operation in Gaza this month, saying it aims to eliminate Hamas and bring back remaining hostages who were taken in October 2023. French authorities have been condemned for detaining 2 British fishing boats in the English Channel. In the latest enforcement operation, a French patrol vessel intercepted and seized a UK trawler off the Baie de Somme for fishing without the required licence. The incident happened on Thursday, just hours after a record number of migrants, 825, crossed illegally into UK waters. In an interview with GB News, the Shadow Home Secretary accused Sir Keir Starmer of selling out British fishermen and surrendering UK fishing rights to the EU. And Sunderland have secured their place in the Premier League next season after beating Sheffield United 2-1 in the Championship playoff final. Fans painted Wembley red and white to celebrate the end of their 8-year wait to return to top-flight football. Super sub Tom Watson scored the winner in the 95th minute to seal a dramatic 2-1 comeback, the 19-year-old giving his team the ultimate parting gift before moving to Brighton next season. Arsenal have won the Women's Champions League, beating defending title holders Barcelona 1-0 in Lisbon. It's the second time the Gunners have lifted this trophy. They last did it 18 years ago as part of their quadruple winning season in 2007. They remain the only English side to have done it. Around 5,000 Arsenal fans made the trip to support their club. And in Scotland, Aberdeen have won the Scottish Cup final after beating football giant Celtic in a penalty shootout at Hampton Park. It's their first Scottish Cup triumph for 35 years. Those are the latest GB News headlines. I'll have more for you in an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome to Ben Leo Tonight. It's the news hour. The front pages have just dropped. Let's take a first look at what's going to be hitting your newsagent shelves tomorrow, starting with the Sunday Mirror. New twist in Fire's inquiry, a probe on Russian links to Starmer arson attacks. I mean, this just gets strange by the day. Arson attacks on Keir Starmer's old homes are being probed for possible Kremlin involvement. 3 men were charged after a car and 2 properties linked to the PM were set ablaze. Officials are looking at whether Russia recruited them. They denied the charges. Some of those people were Ukrainian, strangely. The Sunday Express, hell to pay if OOP's left out in the cold. Keir Starmer has been told there will be hell to pay if he fails to restore fuel payments for pensioners in time for this winter. Which moves us on to the Sunday Telegraph. Nigel Farage set to outflank Keir Starmer on benefits. Reform leader pledges to reinstate winter fuel payments and fully scrap the 2-child benefit cap. The Observer, sticking with the benefit cap, he's done it. Starmer to scrap child benefit cap. The PM will end the 2-child limit. The Treasury told to find the £3.5 billion from the policy elsewhere. I wonder who they'll target. Number 10 bows to party pressure. So, panel, welcome back. Let's talk about that. The Sunday Telegraph says Farage is going to outflank Starmer on benefits with the 2-child benefit cap and winter fuel payment. The Observer, they've got there first. The left-leaning paper saying Keir Starmer, Paul Richards, will be doing that. £3.5 billion policy needs to be found elsewhere, and the benefit cap will be scrapped.
I mean, this is a very authoritative briefing to the Observer, the sister paper of The Guardian, which is the left's House Journal, as we know, and this has come, as far as we can tell, from the top. So this is a genuine announcement into a Sunday newspaper. It sort of rains on the parade a little bit of the Sunday Telegraph, but it looks like that Starmer is going to extend benefits to children beyond 2, so that, I mean, not the age of 2, but more than 2 children, to tackle child poverty.
So just so viewers are clear, Linda, do you want to explain the policy? If you have 2 children now,
you get child benefit.
You get child benefit, which is around £85 a month, as far as I remember. If you have a 3rd child, under the current situation, you don't get that benefit, the cap. Keir Starmer is going to scrap that, so you can have 10 children and you'll get 10 lots of child benefit.
See, I don't agree with that, because we've talked several times on this programme about why people are stopping having children.
Yeah.
They're stopping in this country. They're already ground to a halt in Japan because of this. And we can't afford to let that keep happening because people have to make decisions about how many children they can actually afford. Now, 2 is a reasonable number. I've got 3, but actually, if I had to pay for the third one, I've got to pay for the third one.
Yeah.
But I don't want to have 4, 5, 6 and expect the state to top up my allowance all the time.
Well, this is families that already have 2 or 3 or 4 children, and the point is then that those children are in poverty potentially because they're not getting the money to feed them. So this is about tackling child poverty, which is what Labour governments do.
But what about the people who are going to have more children later on?
Well, we need more children. You're all complaining about immigration.
Call me old-fashioned, but how about only have the amount of children that you can afford? How's that for an idea?
Peter, I was of this mind 5-10 years ago, but the situation is, and I know lots of viewers are going to be watching this now saying, Ben, shut the hell up, what are you talking about? But there is a birthing crisis in this country. The fertility rate is in the gutter, and do you know what's going to happen? People from other countries and other cultures who are happy to have 5, 6, 7, 8 children will come here and they will replace the native British population. That is what's going to happen. So
that's last week's news, Ben. That's nothing new. That's been happening since goodness knows when.
But Peter, if you say only have kids unless you can afford it and the government shouldn't be helping, then just quite frankly there'll be no English British people left.
The reckless and the feckless, who are very quick to get on their backs and push out kid after kid after kid, do not need to be encouraged by virtue of having more money from the government.
Well, I'd say they do. If you want to save this great country, then I'd say they do.
So everybody needs to be utterly reckless, have as many kids as you like. It doesn't matter whether you can afford them or not, because the state will pay.
But whether you have
Do me a favour.
You're quite right, Peter, but whether you have children or not, it's not just about the child benefit cap. It's about a whole raft of things, a mindset you have to have if you want to be responsible about having children. I totally agree with you. I've met asylum seekers that have 6, 7, 8 children and they don't give it a second thought. I'm not saying that's wrong, but we can't afford to keep that up in this country.
There's many reckless, feckless white people as well that are very quick to get on their backs and shell out kids, never with a thought as to how they're going to pay for them,
but Peter,
safe in the knowledge that the state's going to pay for them.
Peter, I completely get you, and like I said, I was with you 5 years ago, right? But do you raise any concern, for example, that London, as our capital city, is now a minority white British?
London is, in many degrees, lost. OK, I'm a white Londoner, and I'm increasingly in a shrinking minority in my home city. Yeah. But I don't think that lifting the child benefit cap is going to make any difference to that.
I would argue, Peter, I would argue London is going to happen all across the country if Brits don't start having more children. I'm not saying recklessly. I'm not saying just, bang 10 out and then sponge off the state. If you can do it properly. But I'm saying there's a birth rate crisis in this country which other cultures are more than happy to fill the gap in.
Yeah, but
there's 2 things you can never afford in life when you first have it. Number 1's a mortgage and number 2 is children. But you find a way. You make sacrifices. You bin off that holiday because you can't afford it. You focus on your kids. Your life becomes a sideshow. The kids are everything. Everything is about the kids. And you make sacrifices to afford them.
Yeah,
not
I agree.
Expecting the state to pay willy-nilly.
No, I agree. You find a way. You just find a way. You do it. I mean, it's
because the child benefit allowance won't really mean that suddenly we're all producing 3, 4 children. It's not. That's not going to happen.
No,
because so many other things have to happen.
Can we look at the Telegraph front page, Paul? What do you make of? I mean, as you said, the Telegraph has been slightly stumped by the Observer tomorrow because the headline reads Nigel Farage to outflank Starmer on benefits, but the truth is Starmer seems to have outflanked Nigel Farage on benefits.
But also, it's not just a spin war, is it? I mean, the Labour government is a government with 400 MPs and Farage has got 5 MPs, so he can say what he likes about anything, but he's not going to be in government anytime soon. And this front page is just a bit of a flack, really. The Observer is the story of what's actually going to happen.
Yeah, but I guess it shows Reform are reacting.
Well,
they know what they have to offer. People accuse them of just banging on about migration. I mean,
no, that's fair. And as I've been saying for months, Labour needs to worry about Labour voters going over to Reform, and they're obviously trying to chip away at that flank.
Can I read you, Linda, what Nigel Farage has said about our dear leader tonight? He says Keir Starmer is... Sorry, this will be a speech. that he'll give in the next couple of days. He says Keir Starmer is one of the most unpatriotic prime ministers in our history, and this past week has been evidence of that. The prime minister is out of touch with working people. He doesn't understand what they want and how they feel about the big issues in Britain. It's going to be these very same working people that will vote reform at the next election and kick Labour out of government.
But that's a direct risk. Can I just, one sentence? That's because Labour's been accusing him of being unpatriotic because of his pro-Russian sentiments and taking money from Russia Today and all that. That's a direct
come on.
response.
He went on Martin about three times.
That's why he's saying it.
But I think that Nigel Farage is mild in comparison to what Andrew Neil wrote across 2 pages in the Daily Mail today.
Oh, yeah.
Which calls Keir Starmer a liar and someone who has gaslit everyone in this country because his command of even the basic numbers that are integral to our economy at the moment simply isn't firm enough, and he has resorted to telling lies. Now, I'm not saying he's lying, but I'm saying that Andrew Neil, who is an excellent journalist, and it's an excellent
friend of Labour. No friend of Labour.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't like Labour.
Right. It doesn't matter.
It was. Let me just remind you of Andrew Neil's double-page spread in the Daily Mail today. The headline read, "In 55 years of covering politics, I've never accused any UK government of routinely telling untruths, but Starmer and co have taken lying and gaslighting to a deplorable new level." Peter Blexley.
Starmer is astonishingly unpopular. It is remarkable. But, of course, this doesn't surprise me because the last general election was a protest vote. You know how they always say by-elections are protest votes? That general election was a protest vote to get a lamentable Tory government out of power. And people that voted Labour, millions of them, I am convinced, were not wedded to Labour ideology. They were not persuaded by a Labour manifesto. They voted to get rid of the Tories. Starmer has come in and performed appallingly and been dreadful at politics, and consequently his popularity has tanked.
And you can talk about being dreadful at politics, but I've said this week after week. If the Labour Party leadership continually goes on with its cut-and-paste soundbites and its marketing phrases, sooner or later it's going to veer into the realms of dishonesty, which is what has happened. We've reached an inflection point, and we can now see and prove that some of the things that Sir Keir Starmer comes out with, are not true.
We've got 3 trade deals in the space of 3 weeks, and they're going to absolutely grow the economy. And we've got the fastest growth rate in the G7.
But you're not addressing my point.
But those are real things that are actually happening.
You also inherited the fastest growing economy in the G7 under the Tories, so... And also, by the way, I will add, Paul, as well, the latest G7 figures for the same period last year are lower than last year.
But it's still growth, isn't it? And that's the true acid test for this government.
Starmer's unpopularity is borne out by successive opinion polls.
At the next election, let's see.
Paul, Lisa N on the gbnews.com/yourself has said, will Andrew Neil be arrested for dissing Keir Starmer?
Well, no, obviously.
No, he won't, because he's right.
Because we have free speech.
Well, it's not just free speech. He has written a piece where he is unlikely to be accused of defamation, in fact, libel, because it's the written word, and he can prove the truth of what he says. Therefore, it is not defamatory. Therefore, he can practice free speech.
Has Andrew Neil got any Brexity things in his house, like Douglas Murray books? Remember Kent Police when they were going through that, going, ooh, Brexity things.
Yeah, it's an hour. I'm not going to go over old ground. We talked about it in the last hour, but I think we live under a tin pot dictator, tyrannical government at the moment. Right, on that note, let's move on to the Great British Giveaway. Your chance to win a 4-berth motorhome worth £67,000. Here's all the details you need to win.
Someone is going to win the biggest prize package to date, and that someone could be you, driving away in this Elnag Baron 560 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. It has plenty of room for your family of 4, comes complete with kitchen, bathroom and all the space you'll need for life on the road. And the best news? You can drive it on your existing driving licence. Plus, we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Don't delay. You can't can't win if you're not in the draw. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Very good luck to you. Coming up next is the former editor of the Sunday Express and the Sun on Sunday top journalist, David Wooding. He's going to be here talking about all the breaking stories from tomorrow's papers, including, we've already mentioned it briefly, Donald Trump sending 5 State Department officials from the US to the UK on a fact-finding mission on the erosion of free speech, and, of course, the 2 seized British fishing vessels currently languishing in French harbours because the French Navy, instead of bothering to stop the migrants on dinghies from Dover to Calais, Calais to Dover, rather, they're too busy patrolling small, humble fishing vessels from Eastbourne. Back in a sec.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Last night it was won by Austria, a guy called JJ, who actually appeared on The Voice in the UK a couple of years ago. Very, very good singer, but like I say, a lot of the evening was focused around Israel. Israel won a huge amount of the public vote. Obviously, the way the system works on Eurovision is the juries, the professionals get together, they sort of delegate the scores out amongst the other countries, and then the public have their say. Israel were middling in the leaderboard before the public vote, and they shot to the top, and they were right at the top, right to the end. And Austria just picked them at the final moment. But there was a lot of controversy last night that didn't quite make it onto screens about Israel as well. We had 3 protesters that were detained for trying to burst onto the stage during Israel's performance.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, I don't need to delve into the political issues that surround that.
The thing with these idiots from Youth Action, I think it's a 27-year-old and a 22-year-old. Have we got a clip of this? Can we show that? Yes.
Right, yeah, so they weren't arrested, they were detained by organisers at the time and then released, and then a Basel police spokesperson said it's up to the organiser now if they want to press charges about this.
You know what annoys me about this, though, Alex, is Yuval's in her 20s. She's a survivor of the Nova Music Festival on October the 7th. She hid under the bodies of her mates for 8 hours. What she's achieved is amazing. Ignore the politics. And these idiots in their 20s behaving like that to this woman that survived all those horrors.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News. Now, alongside our panel every week, we always like to bring you a Fleet Street heavyweight to run through tomorrow's hottest stories, and I'm delighted to be joined again by the former editor of the Sunday Express, David Wooding. David, good evening. Nice to see you. Great story on the front page of the Sunday Times, which has just dropped Mr Bates versus the bureaucrats. So the post office hero, Mr Bates, is complaining quite rightly that quasi-kangaroo court is frustrating victims' payouts of the post office scandal. Basically, long story short, victims aren't getting their compo.
No, absolutely. He's been waiting, what, 22, 23 years since the first complaints went in. And he was told by the former Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, only 2 years ago that they would get their claims settled. And now it seems that's not going to happen. The promise that was made was that there would be no legalistic speak in these claims. In other words, they weren't going to get lawyers in to play hardball with them. And in fact, that's what's happening. He's been offered a 49.2% of what he's originally claimed. And he says that's not good enough. So it looks like they're going to have another fight on their hands, which is quite disgraceful, really. And the same will be happening for all the other victims of this post office scandal.
And I'll say, David, as well, it's also happening with the infected blood victims who have been absolutely stitched up by the state, you know, be it the health secretaries or the NHS, pharmaceutical companies, for decades. They are still waiting for their compensation. And a lot of them are dying. They were all infected with AIDS, HIV from filthy blood from Skid Row in America, and they're all dying off. They're seeing out their last days without ever really getting justice. And I suspect a lot of these postmasters are probably, not around either.
Some of them are getting quite elderly now, you know, and I'd like to know how much the lawyers are making out of all this. They're probably raking in far more than some of these people will ever see. And it's quite a disgrace, really, because this man really did fight hard for the people there, and they thought they'd won a victory. And it seems to me that this is going to drag on even further. So it's another scandal in the making here. Good for the Sunday Times to bring this one to light. What Sir Alan Bates is saying is that there should be an independent organisation free from the civil service to make decisions on public sector scandals like this, because obviously the civil service have got no money, and they're trying to keep the government is in massive debts, and they're trying to limit the claims as much as they can, which we can understand why they get lawyers to do that. But that's no good if you're the victim of a real wrongdoing.
Yeah, a disgraceful way to treat those victims of the post office scandal. And I'll say it again, the contaminated blood scandal as well. Paul Richards, you had a quick question for David?
Well, I mean, David, you and I speak to ministers, and we know that they are absolutely determined to get compensation and justice for these people. So what is the hold-up? Is it the civil service? Is it the legal system? What can ministers do to kind of break the logjam and get these people the justice they deserve?
I think you're right. The civil service does have a mind of its own in many ways. They are, for good reasons, separate from government. There's the democratic side who make the big decisions, and the civil service who make it happen. But they're probably going through the various protocols that they've always had. It's a very bureaucratic system. So they'll be saying we have to get the lawyers involved and make sure we're not paying more than we need to, and one thing and another. And that's probably what's happening.
So how can we crack some heads together then? How can we get it moving?
I think that's where the ministers have to get involved. And I hope that seeing this in the papers tomorrow morning, they'll say this is a disgrace. We need to do something about it.
Peter Blexley?
David, there's one name missing from this front page article, and it deeply concerns me, and that's Fujitsu. Have they kind of been forgotten about? What are journalistic sources doing about pursuing that company who created this flawed IT system? And what happened to the money? Because it didn't simply disappear. It must have gone somewhere, and who got their grubby mitts on it?
That's absolutely brilliant observation, that, Peter. I mean, Fujitsu were massively involved in this and implicated. Now, I guess this is where the lawyers are getting involved, because they're saying who owes the money to them. The civil service, the post office, was the organisation which wronged them originally, using a dodgy system. So whether that's a separate action or not, I don't know. You'd have to ask a lawyer about that. But it looks to me like the blame has all been heaped on the post office rather than on the subcontracted Fujitsu. But you're right, they do hold a lot of blame for what went wrong here.
OK, Linda Jubilee?
Dave, very quickly, this story accuses the government of presiding over a kind of quasi-kangaroo court. But is there a broader issue here about these quangos, these things, I don't know, like the Charity Commission or bodies that are actually set up to protect us are now... People are full of mistrust over them, and that seems to be one of the root causes of this situation. What is being done about solving that situation?
Yeah, they set up to protect us, but all they seem to do is protect themselves. And the successive governments have always talked about cutting the number of these quangos, a bonfire of the quangos. How many times have we heard that phrase? But the truth is that it's another level of bureaucracy, and it costs us. We're paying these quangos out of our taxes, and they're not doing us any good at all. I don't know, the whole thing needs looking at from top to bottom again.
OK, David, let's move on to a story in the Sunday Telegraph. It's slightly humorous, but it's not a laughing matter. Hamas, the terrorist group, has not paid its fighters for 3 months due to Israeli restrictions on humanitarian aid, preventing the group selling and seizing supplies destined for, legitimate refugees, Palestinians. Hamas civil workers were said to have received a reduced salary equivalent of $250 4 months ago, but it's not clear if they've been paid since. What do you make of this?
Well, yeah, I suppose they're running short of resources on every level with what's going on over there. So this doesn't surprise me at all. But I don't think anybody's going to lose any sleep or cry about Hamas not getting any money, are they? The full focus of attention must go on the people there who are suffering on both sides of this dispute. There's the families of those hostages and the people who were killed in the October 7th attacks. So no sympathy for Hamas at all on this.
No, well, let's hope Hamas down tools and strike.
Yeah.
Let's test their.
That might settle the dispute quicker. Yeah.
Yeah, let's test the strength of their twisted ideology. Interesting story at the bottom of the Sunday Telegraph. We won't talk about it too much because we're running out of time, but the Met Police have dismissed complaints about pro-Palestinian protesters glorifying October the 7th as almost petty tit for tat. Do you think the cops take these protesters seriously, the ones we see every week?
Well, the police are in a lot of trouble here over alleged two-tier policing. They seem to be cracking down on one side of disputes and not on others. And they've got themselves into a right pickle over this because things that are going up on Twitter or social media, they're cracking down on one side, and then they're all... obviously, people are shouting, well, what about him? And there's been so many demos going on that everybody's raising probably legitimate complaints about it. And I wonder whether, with some of the things you've heard, the police are trying too hard to be balanced by taking up crazy cases from one side and then taking a crazy case on the other side to try and balance their policing of these issues. They've got themselves in a total mess here. I mean, because if they lock somebody up for one social media post that we all think is ridiculous, there's then 101 reasons why they can attack somebody on the other side of a debate and lock them up because everybody's writing so much about it.
Yeah, but it seems to me, David, and you don't have to comment on this, I won't put you on the spot, but it seems to me they go after people from the right and right of centre after their social media posts. Yeah. And whenever people on the left, I'll mention Joe Brand a couple of years ago talking about throwing battery acid over Nigel Farage, nothing ever seems to be done about it. So, as you say, they've got themselves in a right tiz. Let's see how they sort themselves out. David Wooding, thank you very much for your company, former editor of the Sunday Express. We'll catch up soon. Right, more coming up after the break, including more front pages. That big story on the front of the Sun. Do you remember the Go Compare advert singer who's Wyn Evans, who's under the spotlight and pressure for sex scandal on Strictly. But more importantly, more pressingly, Andrew Neil, former friend of GB News, of course, has written an absolutely scathing dossier in the Mail on Sunday. Sorry, it's in the Daily Mail today on Keir Starmer, saying he's never, in his 55 years of covering politics, known such a deplorable, lying, gaslighting government as Keir Starmer and his administration. Back in just a tick.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, it's been a bit of a drab day out there and it's going to turn increasingly wet and windy across northern areas before sunshine and showers and feeling a little bit fresher through Sunday. So taking a look at the bigger picture, we've got this area of low pressure moving in, a squeeze in the isobars indicating some strong and gusty winds. So it's an unsettled picture out there tonight with heavy spells of rain, most persistent and heaviest across Scotland, with strong gusty winds and perhaps some coastal gales. In between, there will be some clearer spells, but otherwise, generally, temperatures still holding up 10 to 12 degrees. So quite a mild start to start Sunday morning, but an unsettled start, especially across Scotland. Here we'll see the longest spells of rain, especially across northern parts of Scotland and Orkney and Shetland. Otherwise, further south, we may see some glimmers of sunshine first thing. Across Northern Ireland, it's a case of sunny spells and scattered showers through the morning. England and Wales generally much brighter than Saturday, but there is some patchy outbreaks of rain across the far southeast to start Sunday morning. That rain will clear its way through, turning drier and brighter across the southeastern parts of England, but elsewhere it is a day of sunny spells and frequent blustery showers. Some of the showers are going to be heavy, perhaps thundery, with some hail, especially across northern areas. Otherwise, for all of us, it is a fresher feel out there with a slight change in the wind direction, but in the sunshine, feeling pleasant, 22 degrees in the south and east. So generally not as mild to start Monday morning, but plenty of sunny spells to start. Then we'll see further showers across much of the country, driest across the east before further spells of rain come in to the west. And that's a similar picture on Tuesday and Wednesday, dry, mixed with sunny spells, but generally temperatures highs of 21.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. More front pages have just dropped. Let's remind ourselves of the Sunday Telegraph. The headline reads, Nigel Farage to outflank Keir Starmer on benefits. So the Reform leader pledges to reinstate the winter fuel payments and fully scrap the two-child benefit cap. But as we've seen on The Observer, Keir Starmer said he's already going to scrap the two-child benefit cap. The Sun on Sunday, strictly Win exclusive. I've made mistakes, but I'm not a bad guy. Devastated Win Evans of the Go Compare commercials says he was forced to apologise over his spitz roast comment and denied it was a sex slur. The Sunday Times, as we've seen, Mr Bates versus the bureaucrats. The post office hero is frustrated and angry that the victims of the post office scandal have not received their compensation. Let's look at the Telegraph front page again for tomorrow, the Sunday Telegraph. At the bottom, complaints over pro-Gaza protests are petty tit-for-tats. That's according to the Met Police. What an offensive comment. The Met Police have dismissed complaints about pro-Palestine protesters glorifying October the 7th, the massacre, as petty tit-for-tat. A British-Israeli man who complained to police on one March that an activist with a megaphone was shouting praise for Hamas and saying he loved the 7th of October and loved any organisation that starts with an H. Apparently, Peter Blexley, the copper, replied and said he hadn't heard the offensive comments and told the complainant to calm yourself down.
Yes, yet another pretty appalling story about the Metropolitan Police and, of course, all of British police, just to track bad story after bad story, because policing is in a catastrophic state.
Why so?
It saddens me to say. Because those in charge have all had their heads filled with pseudo-intellectual claptrap at university and got away from the front line of policing as quickly as they possibly could. Those who are climbing that greasy pole of promotion currently will tread all over the front line in their desperate efforts to get the next rank. They don't support their front line. And the front line are very, very inexperienced. So much so that you've got probationary PCs, fresh out of training, being shown how to do the job by fellow probationary PCs. I could go on, but I won't. It's in a dreadful state, and this kind of story is, I'm afraid, just another nail in the coffin of the policing's reputation.
I mean, if people are on the streets saying support Hamas, support Hezbollah, the massacre on the 7th of October was a good thing, they should be arrested.
You're nicked,
Absolutely.
son. Come with me.
Yeah.
Get in the back of the van, mind your head.
Yeah.
Right? But, of course, on these kind of protests, the police are frightened of escalation. So what they've done is they've appeased so many of these pro-Palestinian marches since they began, and appeasement empowers people.
It's been 2 years as well, hasn't it?
But what's extraordinary, later on in this story, it says the Telegraph revealed on Friday, reminds us that a Jewish man at the same protest here was charged with a public order offence after holding up a cartoon satirising the chief of the proscribed terror group Hezbollah.
Yeah.
So they are prepared to act.
Who had been killed.
Yeah.
Who had been killed, yeah.
So they are prepared to act.
No, they're getting it
Yeah,
wrong.
I mean, he wasn't charged, that fella, in the end. But again, when they seem to nick somebody from one side of the argument and not arrest people from the other side, of course they're going to attract dreadful publicity. It looks really bad.
Do we have two-tier policing, Peter?
Inconsistent policing absolutely abounds
No.
here, there and
You don't
everywhere.
think it's deliberate?
Oh, multi-tiers. You got multi-tiers, not just 2 tiers. You got multi.
Who's at the bottom tier?
In what regard?
Who's most likely to get nicked? Which demographic?
Oh, somebody who makes a comment online whose IP address and identity can be easily traced. That is deemed to be offensive.
Right. OK, shall we move on to... we've mentioned it briefly, but it was such a devastating attack on this Labour government. Veteran journalist Andrew Neil launched today quite an extraordinary assault on Sir Keir Starmer's government in the Daily Mail. Here it is, a double-page spread. It's caught like wildfire online. He described the current administration, Labour, as the most dishonest he's seen in 55 years of journalism, almost 6 decades. Writing in the Daily Mail, Neil accuses the Prime Minister and his party of taking the lying to and the gaslighting of the electorate to a new low. Strong stuff indeed. Paul Richards, we talked about it briefly in the last 30 minutes or so, but really this has been a devastating assault on Keir Starmer. But you just say Andrew Neil's a right-winger, so he would say this kind of thing.
I didn't say that, did I?
Well, what did you say? You said he's no lefty.
He's no friend of Labour,
Right.
which I've met him. We know this to be true, but he is just a commentator. He's written a hard-hitting essay.
He's not just a comment. I mean,
Well, yeah, he's written a column in the Daily Mail, and we can agree with it or agree with it. I've just challenged the idea that it's the most dishonest. I mean, we went through Boris Johnson. Surely
But
that
have
was
you
more
read
dishonest,
that,
wasn't
Paul?
it?
Have you read it?
I have not read it. No, I don't
Well,
read the Daily Mail.
What does it
start
say,
to
really,
finish.
Linda?
And he talks about, for example, facts and figures about the level of tax cuts that they put into their manifesto and now the level of tax cuts that have actually happened. Now, that is actual dishonesty. So Andrew Neil is perfectly at liberty to write a piece and make what's called a fair comment as long as he underpins it with facts, which is what he has done in this double-page spread.
But you know full well, when it comes to the economy, there are lots of different perspectives
No,
from
that's not true at all.
different economists.
No,
on what are the
if
facts.
you're saying that number is in the manifesto and then this number is the number...
his opinion.
That's not opinion, Paul, that's a number.
It's his opinion.
It's not his opinion.
It's an opinion
No,
piece.
it's
Not
not.
useful.
It's
Starmer's
not
in a
his
very
opinion.
deep hole, and I don't think any kind of spin doctrine is going to get him out of it, even in the next 4 years. I really don't.
Well,
I think he's done for.
We'll be judged, but by the people in an election.
This article, he has put facts into it to underpin his comments. Now, you can't use woolly words to get round that. That's perfectly straightforward.
And do you know what's happening, Paul? The electorate already are speaking. Look what happened, the absolute political bloodbath at the local elections a couple of weeks ago, the Runcorn by-election, the mayoral results, and today... this is a nice little segue. Anti-government protesters gathered in major cities all across the UK, organised by a group called the Great British National Strike. It's unknown how many people took to the streets, although videos doing the rounds online suggested it was thousands. And estimates said that crowds could reach 500,000 people. I don't think it quite reached that, but the organiser of the group said they stand against illegal migration, net zero, inheritance tax, which, funnily enough, I was just banging on about off air, I hate it, and the attacks on our farmers, the attacks on the most vulnerable, the lack of inquiries into the rape gangs, the attacks on free speech, and two-tier justice. Let's take a look at this. This is footage from, I think this is from Edinburgh. So, Paul Richards, this is the response. The Great British National Strike happening all across cities in the UK today. This is the electorate, this is the British people saying to the government, we've had enough.
Well, nothing says powerlessness like a demo. You know, suddenly you're on the side of people going on demos, it would seem.
I always was. I went on COVID demos during the madness. I've marched on
You've been on a few in your time, Paul.
I have.
What demos have you been on?
I've been on anti-apartheid, for example, in support of the nurses. In the NHS, you know, various the miners going back to the 80s. So, yes, but it's usually the product of powerlessness because your party's not in government and people go to the streets when they're unhappy with the government. And that's great.
That's
It's
what
a good
they've
part
done.
of our system. But it's not. They're not speaking for the majority. It's people going on a demo.
Linda?
Yeah, do you know what? I think, Paul, this goes back to the point you made earlier. That mass gathering there is all about an opinion. But you have to be able to distinguish between opinion and verifiable facts. And that is the issue we're dealing with now in this country. That clears everything up.
The interesting thing for me in that gathering was there were 3 beautiful flags prominently flown. The Scottish saltire, the flag of St George and a Union flag, the Union Jack.
Yeah.
In abundance.
And I will say, I spoke to the organiser of that strike yesterday, Friday, and I said, what are your political views? He said, look, this is a non-political thing. It's just the people. He said left and right doesn't exist anymore. It's the people versus the government. Let's take a very quick look at a clip that caught my eye this week. It's very funny. Well, I guess it's not that funny, but I can say that because the seagull thankfully survived. But, of course, it was getting into a row with a crow, and then the sly fox nips out the bushes. Have you ever seen anything like that?
It's like Aesop's Fables, isn't it? Something like that.
But the key point is that's Hackney. That's not some countryside place. That's the middle of London.
Yeah, and that fox keeps coming in my back garden doing his business, and I'm not happy with it.
Right, good stuff. Coming up, the big weekend fails on Ben Leo tonight. Back in just a tick.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Whilst western parts of the Mediterranean are having some largely fine weather, it's a different story in the east. Here we have the risk of some heavy showers, which could bring some thunder, even some high rainfall totals, causing problems across parts of Greece, Bulgaria and into Turkey as well. Like I said, though, further west, it's a drier picture, some showery bursts round, but also a decent amount of sunshine on offer. And in the sunshine, it's going to feel pretty warm, if not hot as well.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
This is Britain's newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
What can you say about it? Has it lasted time? It was slayed in flame.
Yeah.
Was it about slaying?
No, it was an amalgamation of lots of bands that we knew.
Mm-hmm.
The director and the writer, Richard Longcrane and Andrew Birkin, they sent us the script as a script originally, and we said, oh, bands don't behave like this in real life. So we decided to take them to America on tour for a month. So they saw what it was like really behind the scenes of a rock band. And we told them stories of what we knew about other bands, plus ourselves, and they amalgamated that into the film. So every scene in the film is true. Not to say...
result?
Fantastic.
Yeah?
Mind you, when it come out in 75, The critics were great to it, but the fans didn't like it. It was too heavy duty for the fans because it wasn't a comedy film like they expected from a happy-go-lucky band like we were.
You did that on purpose, though.
We did it on purpose.
To make a
we
film
didn't
like
want to
all
make
the
it.
other. Dave Clark 5 had done Catch Us If You Can, Hard Day's
Oh,
Night.
that was all that. Yeah.
They were all
there were lots out there.
Yeah.
We wanted to go totally the other way because nobody expected us to do that.
Yeah.
Of course, the fans thought, whoa, what's
But
this?
were you worried, though, at that time? Because
Of course.
Well, hold on, maybe we've made a mistake here.
Of course. When it come out in America, they had to put subtitles on.
Oh, really?
Because they couldn't understand our accents. But 50 years on now, it's just gained momentum.
Yeah.
It's now become a real classic of the rock movie genre. It's Mark Kermode who gave it the title Citizen Kane of rock movies, which is a great accolade for us. Plus, the movie is great. The movie soundtrack is great as well.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Nigel is back.
Good evening.
Unfiltered.
Are these proposals bold enough?
Uncompromising.
Will it bring growth?
Unmissable.
We as a country are brilliant.
Nigel Farage returns. Coming soon. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo's Tonight. Time now for Big Weekend Fails. This is the part of the show where we pick something that's happened during the week which we think was an epic fail or an absolute disgrace, and we talk about it. This is mine today. I was walking into a Tesco Express and a guy walked out. This isn't the clip, I didn't manage to get it on film. This is the empty shelves. But a guy walked out with loads and loads of meat in his hands. A Tesco employee was walking behind me and he said to the thief, let's not do that, mate. Come on, let's not do that. And the guy said, oh, don't worry, mate. I just won't come back. I won't come back. And the Tesco employee just said, OK. And the guy walked off down the street with literally stacks of meat like that. I'm just standing there wondering, well, why do we even bother?
God,
what's the point?
So worrying.
What's the point? And that clip there was me in the aftermath. It wasn't a very good picture, but it was the semi-empty shelves of the stock he'd just taken. What a joke.
So the epic fail is you for not nicking him.
Making a citizen's arrest.
I'll tell you what did happen. I thought, right, this would be great footage for my show tonight. I ran out the store after buying my can of Coke, ran out the store, ran around the corner to where he was, and I was going to confront him on film for the show tonight, which I thought would have been great TV. Unfortunately, he was with another bloke, and it was a very quiet street, so I thought, I was umming and ahhing for 20 seconds.
Yeah.
I thought, is it worth it? And I thought, probably not. They might have a knife. So, yeah, that's
But the people you should go after, that meat then gets sold to restaurants and then gets served up tonight as the specials. There are restaurants profiting from that gang.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what it
goes
is.
all the way up.
That's gang activity.
Literally.
And the security guard close to a supermarket near the studio, he was stabbed the other week by a thief. So, yeah, he was stabbed in the neck, I'm told. Peter Blakeslee, what is your fail? Let's take a quick look.
As that improves, I do want people to feel the benefit of the measures that we are taking, and that is why I want to ensure that more pensioners are eligible for winter fuel. It is important that, as you'd expect, that we are clear we can afford the decisions we're making.
Peter, don't you dare criticise our dear leader. You risk getting cuffed and taken down the nick.
Break. There's a U-turn for you. What a U-turn that was, eh? The most damaging policy that Gormless oaf has come up with in the short time he's been Prime Minister, and even he's realised that it's so damaging.
Yeah, I think lots of viewers will agree. Paul, go on then.
Well, I was going to say, he's listening to the people, isn't he? You can't blame him for that.
Yeah, man of the people, Keir Starmer. Yeah, all right. Peter, very quickly before we move on, just tell us about your beautiful rose, yellow rose.
I went to see my wonderful mum this afternoon in her home. She's 96, still lives on her own independently, and I love her roses, and quite often I just snip one off and wear it.
Oh, it looks really good. I'm not sure. Yeah, it looks great on TV. It absolutely pops. Your mum's, she does her own gardening?
No, she has a garden. She's 96. She'll be 97 in September.
What's her name?
Pauline.
Pauline, if you're watching, you've got a good lad here, and he's a special boy, and he loves you very much. Nice to see you, Pauline. Who's next? Paul. Talk over this. What's going on?
Well, everybody sensible, of course, last weekend was watching us on Ben Leo Tonight, but there was also the Eurovision Song Contest going on, and Graham Norton, I am told, made some sort of political remarks about the remarkable woman who was representing Israel, who had survived the massacre by putting dead bodies on top of herself when they attacked the music festival, when Hamas attacked the music festival. And Norton weighs in with some political views in an event that's supposed to be about, you know, brotherhood and peace and love. And so, what a disgrace.
It just it personifies the metropolitan elite in this country, you know, totally out of touch, living in their big mansions, shopping in Notting Hill, paying 20 quid for a loaf of bread, you know, just not a clue about anything.
Whilst being paid a fortune by the BBC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good point. Linda, yours?
So mine is the boss who ended up being so exasperated by one of his employees who kept taking time off for his mental health issues that one day he sort of exhaled in exasperation at this guy and was then taken to court and convicted. Compensation was ruled to be in order and its amount will be determined in the future. Alan Corran wrote this brilliant piece in the Times. He said, at which time, no doubt, the judge will also rule that tutting is homophobic, winking is racist, farting is anti-Semitic, and picking your nose means you hate women.
Yeah, well, but next week you'll probably see all those things true. You never know which way it's going. Panel, thank you very much. Leo Kearse is on standby with headliners. Leo, good evening. What's on in the menu tonight?
We've got a cracking lineup tonight. We've got Nick Dixon and Louis Schaefer on the show, and we're going to talk about Donald Trump getting involved to free Lucy Connolly. He's stepping in to ensure British people have freedom of speech. We're also going to talk about the David Lammy bisexual flag row. That's quite an interesting one. He's not the one I picked from the Labour Party to be embroiled in a row like that. And also, Miss England has quit because she doesn't like being objectified. So we've got lots of pictures of her.
Oh, lovely. Look forward to that. Leo, thank you. Paul Richards, what's the David Lammy bisexual flag row? You know that?
Absolutely. I dread to think. Well, let's wait and find out, shall we? Exactly.
Yeah, we'll have to watch headliners and find out. Leo Kearse is saying, if you don't hear his mic, it makes a change from David Lammy toting a gun in France with a taxi driver, which, of course, allegedly, which I guess wasn't true. Yeah.
Not that stopped you mentioning it about 20 times.
Oh, that's a great story, isn't it?
There we are.
Fantastic story. Did the Foreign Secretary toting a gun in a taxi? Not true, probably. Linda Jubilee, Paul Richards, Peter Blexley, thank you very much indeed for your company. You'll be back next week. And thank you at home for your company as well. I'm on a special trip tomorrow. These two British fishing vessels that were seized by the French. Instead of the French Navy stopping the dinghies leaving from Calais to Dover, they're too busy roughing up our humble fishermen. So I'm going to Calais in the morning from Dover, 8 or 9 in the morning. I won't have much sleep, but I don't mind. And I'm going to go and find those vessels. I'm going to speak to the French and tell them to give our vessels back. That'll be on the show tomorrow night. The weather's up next. After that is headliners. Good night. See you tomorrow.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, it's been a bit of a drab day out there and it's going to turn increasingly wet and windy across northern areas before sunshine and showers and feeling a little bit fresher through Sunday. So taking a look at the bigger picture, we've got this area of low pressure moving in, a squeeze in the isobars indicating some strong and gusty winds. So it's an unsettled picture out there tonight with heavy spells of rain, most persistent and heaviest across Scotland, with strong gusty winds and perhaps some coastal gales. In between, there will be some clearer spells, but otherwise, generally, temperatures still holding up 10 to 12 degrees. So quite a mild start to start Sunday morning, but an unsettled start, especially across Scotland. Here we'll see the longest spells of rain, especially across northern parts of Scotland and Orkney and Shetland. Otherwise, further south, we may see some glimmers of sunshine first thing. Across Northern Ireland, it's a case of sunny spells and scattered showers through the morning. England and Wales generally much brighter than Saturday, but there is some patchy outbreaks of rain across the far southeast to start Sunday morning. That rain will clear its way through.